mentors of students to co-design their challenges based on their interests and developing those essential skills.
These design challenges allow our students to take on complex problems. Let's hear from their perspective.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Reber. I'm a student at Launch High School, and I am super passionate about civil government reforms. I think that the judicial system is very biased based on nationality, race, and favoritism. And I think that there should be some kind of reform. I'm not for defund the police. I just believe that there need to be changes made, and I would like to include this in my U.S. class, my U.S. government class this year.
Hello, I'm Isaiah Arnold. I'm taking on a project about city planning and utilities, specifically having our city provide internet to everybody to reduce the social inequality we saw during remote learning.
As students study Utah history and westward expansion, they learn about the Union Pacific Railway and the role of the railway in our local iron mines. Since today some of these railways in our county are unused, we ask, how might we make the best use of abandoned railways in Iron County? Students follow IDEO's design thinking process of seeking inspiration and understanding, generating ideas and bringing them to life, and implementing these ideas with real people or organizations. Students begin the inspiration phase by seeking understanding from local residents as to how they would like to see the railway best used. They practice communication skills as they interview residents to gain empathy for their point of view. Students begin the ideation phase by collaboratively generating bold ideas and solutions for making the best use of the abandoned railways. Here, they learn how to build off other people's ideas and other competencies required for good collaboration. Students then take these ideas and critically think about their solutions, reflecting on how they meet the needs of the people they are designing for as they refine their critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Next, they bring their ideas to life by designing prototypes of their solutions. Their capacity to be creative with the tools they have available and come up with original thoughts grows as they participate. Within the implementation phase, students seek feedback and critique on their initial solution or prototype. And instead of feeling discouraged about the critique, they exercise a growth mindset to create a better design solution and become resilient as they persist towards excellence, repeating the feedback process. Each student does their part to work towards a final product that they are proud of and exercises responsibility to meet the deadlines of the project. Students may also explore how to budget this project and make it sustainable over time as they understand appropriate aspects of financial literacy that would allow this project to move forward. This design thinking process helps empower Iron County students to solve real problems now.
How can we innovate, improve, and impress? And that's what Launch High School is all about. Innovation, improving on our ideas, and then just knocking it out of the park, impressing. So a couple of things. We said, check with your advisor. If you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing, every student has an advisor assigned to them. This advisor is strategically looking for the student throughout the day and checking in with them and feeling like really like an extra parent. And so if that student needs to be redirected or helped with something, that is what that advisor is for. So if your kid is saying something and you want to be a good parent and say something like, oh, well, that doesn't sound right. How come? Yeah, just say, you know what? You should go talk to your advisor. Go talk to your advisor about that. See what they can help with. So that's just a quick one-liner that you can use on your kid. If you're unsure about something that you hear, you should go ask your advisor about that tomorrow. Go do it first thing. There's always something to do. Parents, if your kids come home and they're telling you that they're all caught up, that's a lie. There's so much to do. They can do it. We're telling them to take breaks during the day. We don't expect them to just work 24/7, but kids are always going to have something to do. So don't feel bad as a parent to remind them and say, hey, you should do your homework. They've got homework.
Here's an example Google Calendar that we expect students to check and maintain each day at Launch High School. You can have them check their Google Calendar at calendar.google.com. The things students can do at home include self-checks, watching instructional videos, planning or writing essays, and doing research. These things will help them have more time to do the things that they need to do while they're in school, including their project work with teams, taking post-assessments, and getting help from their teachers.
Anyhow, I gotta say, we've got the best teachers here. Every day after school, since school started, they have this little debriefing. They lock down the launch pad and they go down there and they problem solve. This is not something that I suggested they do. This is them being rock star teachers and listening to the comments that the kids make and suggestions. And they go down and say, hey, we're seeing a lot of this. How can we change it? How can we make it better? So just know the teachers have the kids' best interest at heart, and they truly do want to help and make things awesome. So with that, I will turn it over to Corey Henwood. Thanks, Corey.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Schofield. Appreciate it. What we wanted to do tonight is give you a couple of tips of how you can help your students to be successful at Launch High School, what it takes and what you want to be checking in on as far as how they're doing at the school and how you can support them in that. In addition, answer some questions, if any, that you have for us. So I'll get right into it. The first thing we wanted to mention, every week to 2 weeks, our teachers will be checking in with your students, specifically with the intent of noting their pace in the class and how much progress they've made since the last check-in. And so this idea of measuring pace and progress are the two assignments that you'll see in PowerSchool. One entitled Pace, which will indicate how they're doing as far as the pace to keep on pace to complete the quarter on time. And the second on progress, meaning how much progress they've made since the last check-in. You'll see a scale of 1 or 0 through 4 on each of those. 3 is the number 3 benchmark is to stay on pace and make adequate progress. 3 is what we would expect of students. 4 would be that they've gone beyond what we expect. So if they receive a 4 out of 4, it means that they are ahead of pace or have made more than adequate progress. 2 would mean that they're just falling just slightly short of what we would expect. And a 1 would mean that they're well behind what we expect. And 0 would mean that they haven't made any progress or haven't begun the course at all as far as pace goes. So what I wanted to show you is some examples of how that might happen and work out so that you're prepared for what you see in PowerSchool and hopefully answer any questions or concerns about that. So if you haven't heard this already from your students, there are in each of your courses that they take at the students or at the school, there are 8 deliverables per quarter in each of their courses. Those 8 deliverables are the same format in each of the courses. They include showing proficiency in each of the 4 standards covered in the quarter. So each course at our school covers 4 standards per quarter, 4 big ideas or topics that they cover each quarter. So the way they show proficiency in those standards could either be from a pre-assessment, meaning they already understood the material and they can already pre-assess out of it, showing that they've been able to test out and show that they know that. Or they can go through a series of self-checks and learning materials to ultimately come to the end and do a post-assessment for each of those standards. Those are the kind of things that we expect, and each of those, showing proficiency in each of those topics or standards, is one of the 8 deliverables. The other 4 deliverables are that they submit 1 to 2 project proposals and 1 to 2 completed projects. It could be 1 proposal or 1 project if they cover multiple standards in that project. Otherwise, if they would be expected to do 2 projects. And those cover the 8 deliverables we'll expect per course in a quarter. Now there's 8 deliverables, and roughly a quarter normally takes a student 8 to 9 weeks in our traditional school system. So in order to stay on pace to complete a quarter's worth of work, we expect students to complete one of these deliverables every week. So when I mention pace, that's what I'm referring to stay on pace, that 3 level or at expectation of pace, is to complete one of these deliverables a week.
In this quarter, we're only requiring 6 deliverables since we only have 6 weeks.
For progress, what we expect is the very same. We expect them to make adequate progress in the course to complete one deliverable per week. Now, there's a couple scenarios that I'll showcase of how this will work. When we put these assignment scores in PowerSchool for both pace and progress, you'll notice that your student will also receive a grade in PowerSchool. I want you to view that grade as a form of temperature check on where your student's at currently in their coursework. And I don't want you to be too overly concerned with what you see if what you see is not to your liking. And I'll explain some of why you might see that. So for example, if a student is both ahead of pace and has made more than adequate progress in a week or a 2-week check-in, then you would see a 4 in pace if they're ahead of pace and a 4 in progress if they've made more than one deliverable per week of progress. That's going to showcase an A grade in PowerSchool, the 4 translating to the A. But this is because they're ahead of pace. It's quite okay if they are simply on pace and they have made adequate progress, that one deliverable in a 1-week term. That would show as a 3 for both the pace and the progress metric, and you would actually see a grade of B. I want you to know that that's quite okay, and I'm going to explain how the ultimate grade for your students' classwork will be determined at the end of this. Okay, so that is pace and progress for a student who's simply on pace and making adequate progress every week. What about some other scenarios? For example, a student who is on pace but not quite making adequate progress since the last check-in. That's okay. Maybe you're taking a little bit of a break and you're still on pace because you did some additional work in an earlier period of the quarter. That's okay, but we want to be aware that you just haven't made quite enough progress to continue to stay on pace if you were to continue to slump in your progress. We expect students to continue to work and stay on pace. If they are both limited in both pace and progress is where we have an issue. So I'll show you one more example, a student who is slightly behind on pace, but they've made adequate progress. They're doing the work they need to get back to pace. That's, again, not in a great situation, but they're doing what they need to do to get back on target. The part where we have an issue is when you see both pace and progress are behind. That's when we offer an intervention to students and offer them more structure in their daily schedule to say, you will be asked to attend a class with both of, for example, the math teachers, if you're in this case in your math class, that you'll be attending every day until your next check-in or until you're excused by the teacher and you've shown that you are now on pace or you've made excellent progress in your class. That's where we offer that more structured intervention for students when they fall into this category. And this is where you might be rightfully concerned if your student falls into this category, into the course. However it works out, even if a student is at one point behind pace and behind progress, what will their grade be at the end of it? Once a student has mastered each of the deliverables we expect, each of those 8 deliverables, no matter how long it took them or where they ended up at what point in the course and the path they took to get there, once they've mastered each of those, the student has completed everything we've expected them to do at or above expectations, which is really what we're talking about in a competency-based school. At that point, when they've completed all of them, your student will have an A grade in the class. And we will take whatever grade is showing in PowerSchool and replace it with an A grade for that quarter that they've completed. And then you'll see new pace and progress scores come in for the next quarter as they begin that work.